Hello again, it's Andy here with a story for you, and this one's about persevering. You know, how you have to keep trying and trying and trying until you get something right. Have you ever made a mess of something? I have many a time. Perhaps you've had some handwriting to do and it's just not gone the way you want it to, and the best thing to do is to screw it up, throw it away and start again. With me, it's a picture. I cannot draw for toffee, and I usually have to take about 3 attempts before I get a decent picture. Several hundred years after God created the world, things began to go wrong. The people in the world started to spoil things. They broke God's laws. In fact, things got so bad that God decided to wash the world and start all over again. Now, this is a long story, so I suggest you make sure that you're sitting really, really comfortably.
Hundreds of years after God created the world, it began to fill with people, but they were wicked. They robbed and killed each other until God felt sorry that he had ever made human beings who treated one another so badly. He was angry at the wrong he saw. At last, there was only one man left who still loved God and followed his ways, and his name was Noah. So God warned Noah, "People are so cruel that they are destroying one another and my beautiful world. I am going to send lots and lots of rain. All the lakes and rivers, even the sea itself, will overflow and rush over the earth until every living thing has been drowned in the flood. I promise I shall keep you and your family safe," God continued. "First, you must build a boat." And God told Noah exactly how the boat was to be made. It was to be built of a special kind of wood, and it was to have 3 decks. The whole boat was to be 150 meters long, and it was to be coated inside and outside with tar to make it watertight. Noah obeyed God's instructions down to the smallest detail, and his whole family helped him. Well, every day astonished crowds watched them as they cut down trees and smoothed the wood, and slowly the boat began to take shape. But the people watching him jeered. "Noah is nuts," they said. "There's no water here to float a boat." Noah took not the slightest notice. And then God told him to drive into the boat 2 of every kind of animal, bird and reptile. And so Noah and his family rounded up the animals and drove them in, 2 by 2, 1 male and 1 female. There were tigers and elephants and sparrows and ants and mice, and they all had to be aboard before the rain came. When the animals were safely settled in the boat, Noah and his family went on board too. They took a last look at the old world, and then God himself shut the door behind them with a loud slam. There was a flash of lightning, and a crash of thunder. The dark, swollen clouds that filled the sky burst, and it began to rain. Water poured down the hills, and filling the valleys, it rose higher and higher. The big boat jolted and began to drift, gently floating on the flood. Everywhere people tried to escape. Faster and faster rose the boat on the foaming, swirling water, until it was tossed high above the tops of the highest mountains. And every living thing on earth drowned as the sea covered the whole world. Inside, Noah and his company were crowded and a bit cramped, and it was smelly. The family was busy from morning until night, cleaning out the pens, changing the straw, bringing food and water to the animals. They looked after them all, especially the ones that were seasick. And they even found time to play with their new friends. For 40 days and 40 nights, the sound of rain continued overhead. But God did not forget Noah and the animals in the boat. At last, the rain died away, and a wind blew over the flooded world. Slowly the water went down, until at last the boat came to rest on the top of a mountain called Ararat. The wind kept blowing, and soon the peaks of other mountains showed like rocks sticking out of the sea. Noah opened a trapdoor and looked around him. He decided to send a raven out to investigate. The bird gave a harsh "quack" and flew away. It never came back to the boat, but it circled the flooded country looking for somewhere to rest. And so, a little later, Noah sent out a dove. Everyone gathered round to watch as the bird shook its white feathers and flew off. But it found nowhere to settle, and it came back to the boat. A week later, Noah tried again. All day the family watched anxiously. And then, in the evening, the bird came back, and everybody cheered when they saw that the bird held an olive leaf in its beak. Now they knew that the trees were beginning to grow. Soon they would be able to leave their boat and make a fresh start in God's new world. At last the day came when God said to Noah, "You may let the animals out now." And with a flurry of feathers and a pounding of food, they rushed out of the boat and they raced away to find new homes. And last of all, Noah and his family stepped shakily off the boat, taking great gulps of fresh air and stretching their arms and their legs. Oh boy, was it good to be alive in this clean, new world. And as a way of saying thank you to God for this fresh start, Noah built a mound of stones and offered some birds and animals to him. Then God said to Noah, "I will never send another flood to destroy the world. Until forever, there will always be times to plant and times to harvest. There'll be hot weather, cold weather, and day and night." God told Noah and his family and all the living things about this promise. "Look," he said, "I'm putting a bow in the sky so that you will remember my promise. When the rainbow shines against stormy clouds, you will know that I am reminding you that I shall never again send a flood to destroy the earth." And a wonderful coloured ark glowed in the sky. And Noah and his family went singing on their way under the beautiful rainbow.
I do like a story with a happy ending, don't you? Isn't it good that we get the chance to make a new start when things go wrong? Think of the new starts that you might be making today. Perhaps a new page in your reading book. Or you might be learning a new skill in a PE lesson. Or you might be making up with a friend that you'd fallen out with earlier. I'm going to say a prayer. And if you want to make it your prayer, say Amen at the end. Dear God, thank you that the rainbow reminds us that we can all make a new start whenever we need to. Please help us with any of the new starts that we make today. Amen. So, until the next time, goodbye.